do an opening statement from Coach Schertz, and then questions.
Obviously, much better effort, much better competitive spirit and disposition from our guys tonight. I would have said that, had we lost the game. We trailed a lot the first half. I liked the way we were fighting, the way we were competing. Credit Quinnipiac, I think Otiano had made one career three. He made three tonight, and then Bennett had made 5 career threes. He makes 2 tonight. So guys that we wanted to shoot threes, shot threes, and they made them. And that's part of you're playing the numbers, and sometimes it does not work. But I liked the way we were competing. I liked the shots we were making them take, and I liked our offensive process. Even though I didn't think we shot it great, I thought we generated a lot of quality looks. They just weren't going in, but loved our fight, liked our spirit, loved what I thought. Amari off the bench really. Brought up, you want guys who change the energy in the game when they come in, and he changed the energy of the game tonight. Kulu was unbelievable, 18 rebounds, and his defense, he guarded every single Quinnipiac player from, when Robbie was out, he guarded their big man. He guarded when Robbie was in, he guarded and switched 1 through 4. He was remarkable, and of course Swope, with some huge shot making for us down the stretch. And so, happy with more happy with the process. Obviously the result's great, but really pleased with how our guys competed, fought, and bounced back and responded from obviously a less than ideal performance on Friday. And so this has got to become the norm, though. That's our identity. We got to fight, we got to scratch, we got to claw. It's not always going to be pretty, but we got to compete at that level, defend at that level, fight at that level, and do it together to be a good team. And today was a good step in the right direction.
You had predicted that Robbie was going to be rusty at the start, and it looked like he was rusty at the start.
He struggled. I mean, missed some plays around the rim. I thought, thought there may have been a couple times where there may have been some contact that forced misses, but they didn't call it. I thought he was obviously rusty. He missed some cutters that were wide open, where he normally feeds those guys. We probably missed halftime 3 or 4 layups that we could have had that he just didn't see. And that's going to take time. I mean, like we talked about, I don't think we're going to see the best version of Robbie Avila for a couple weeks. I would be, we talked about, I think, I mentioned, we talked about this back with Stu, like there's a difference in a guy being able to return to play and a guy being able to return to his performance. And right now he's returning to play, but certainly, he's nowhere, he's a shell of what he normally is. And but that'll come in time. He needs rhythm. He needs to play. And so today was a good first step. That was a good Quinnipiac team. Obviously going against their big kid. Otiano is a tough matchup. Particularly if he's making threes like that. But I thought Robbie boxed him out and was really physical with him. That kid had 11 offensive rebounds his last game. 11 offensive rebounds. He's one of the top offensive rebounders in the country. And thought Rob did a good job of boxing him. He didn't get a ton of rebounds himself, but he did a good job of keeping him away from getting a ton of offensive rebounds.
Other than, I know you talked to the team about it after the game the other night, but how else did you communicate what you wanted to see in the short time you had to get to this game?
We came back Saturday and we watched we spent a very long time. I met with guys individually. I met with a lot of different players throughout the day. I didn't sleep, so I came back, read the bus home, watched the game, got back home, tried to go to sleep at 5 a.m., couldn't, watch the game a second time, got up and just went, made coffee and then went about my day. And so, met with guys individually, then we watched film individually with some guys, and then we had a really, probably a 2-hour film session, just going through the plays and plays where we lacked toughness, plays where when I said that I thought we let go of the rope and we quit late in the game, that showed that. And then I thought showed them plays where we got to get better and improve execution piece. But we talked a lot about, what we want to be as a program, and creating an identity, and that that what happened in Wichita or in Kansas City against Wichita State is not acceptable. Like, that's not going to be what this program is going to be. Now, we're not going to win every game. That's not possible. We'll stub our toes. We'll hit adversity. All kinds of stuff will happen. but we're going to fight, and we're going to compete together, and we're going to lay it out there. And there's going to be a level when you come play St. Louis of like, man, like these guys are hard to play against. Like they're relentless. They keep competing, don't always win, but they defend, they compete together on both ends of the floor. They're really hard to play against, and we're just not going to, you got to respond to adversity in a collective and purposeful way. And we didn't in Kansas City. We let go of the rope. And so there was all that. And then we practiced. We had a hard practice yesterday. We got after it yesterday. We went 2 hours yesterday and really got after it and hit bodies. And, but the biggest thing to me was the psyche piece. I can live with, I've lost a lot of games in my career, so it's not like my first ever loss. I get, things happen. And if we lost that game because of a shooting variance, because we went 6 for 30 from 3 and 11 for 21 from the foul line, like that happens. You lose games sometimes because you just can't make a shot and shooting, or so the team can't miss. I mean, there's shooting variance as a part of basketball. That had nothing to do with why we lost that game. And so I wanted them to understand who we're going to be. And that's and I know it's a long answer, but like when you take guys from various cultures, like Robbie and Isaiah come from Indiana State, so they're used to how we do things there. Kobe Johnson comes from West Virginia. They do things however they do them there. And AJ Casey comes from Miami, and they do things they do there. And, Kalani comes from Brown. They do things that they do there. And these guys have had varying levels of success, different cultures. Coaches emphasize different things. There's different standards. Nothing's right or wrong. It's just different. So you're taking a collective group, the three guys that were here, Gibb and Kellen and Larry. That's different. Travis, I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm sure Travis did it differently than me. Again, doesn't make it my way better, his way better. It's just different. Different is different. But you got to get them to understand how we want to operate and what our culture is going to be. And, until that gets internalized, like I got to drive it and hold the standard, and I will. And they know, that aspect, that should never happen. Competing and laying it out like I did tonight, that should be the expectation for every fan. Every once in a door, like, hey, these guys, they're laying it out there. They may not play well, they may lose, whatever, but you should never come to a St. Louis game and be like, man, those guys aren't competing their brains out and doing it together.
Did multiple viewings of the Wichita State game show you anything you didn't see before, or was it punishment enough?
It was a reminder of how bad we were, in various areas. Part of winning basketball games is you can't always play your A. That's not possible. Like, you can't play 32 games, play A level. So a big part of winning is making the other team play poorly. And so, to make them play poorly, you got to understand what they want to do and then take them out of that. Going into Wichita State's game, it's like they're really good in transition. They're drive the heck out of the basketball, put their shoulders down and go. We got to keep them out of transition. We got to get back and loaded and guard as a team. We got to do a great job at the point of attack. We got to be in our gaps. We got to have good ball pressure, disruptive. We really got to shrink the floor. Our ball screen defense has to be great, and we got to play without fouling because they get the foul line religiously. So if you look at that game, our transition defense was awful. They got anything they want in transition. They got downhill relentlessly. Their ball screen coverage, their screens and rescreens, they were living at the rim, 6-7 points in the paint. What they don't do is shoot the three well, which they didn't. And then they got the free throw line 25 times and made 21. So they played at A+. And we obviously, because we shot the ball poorly, and turned it over, we played a D. And their A+ to our D was 25 points better. Now, if we made them play a C, maybe we have a shot to win that game. Or if we played a little better. Tonight we did a much better job. Quinnipiac was similar deal where they want to get downhill, the ball screens, transition, offensive rebounding, did a much better job of competing in those areas. And part of it was we didn't play great. I mean, we played good, but we made Quinnipiac play poorly, and that honestly was as much of why we won by tonight as anything else, and absolutely what we did not do out in Kansas City to any extent.
Is it just sagging off and having the ball handler flow to your drop coverage, or what is the key when you see a team that doesn't shoot the ball well and you keep from the rim? What's the biggest difference between the failure against Wichita State and the success tonight?
I think it starts with always, point of attack defense. It's your compete level on the ball. You got to really be down. You got to be in a stance. You got to slide. You got to get, we always talk about, you want to have collisions with the ball handler with your chest above the 3-point line. So you want to be in the ball. You want to, when they drive it, you want to have a collision with the handler with your chest and your feet, not hand checking outside the 3-point line. Take control. of the drive. You want to win your closeouts. You're going to be in closeouts. We always chart, how many closeouts do we win? How many closeouts do we lose? Can we get into a closeout and keep the ball under control and not get driven, not give up a wide open three, make them take a contested three or cut off a drive? What they did to us, our ball screen coverage was bad, and that's on me. Like I have to adjust. We were way too far back. Tonight we did a much better job of being up and giving Quinnipiac less space coming off the ball. So if you look at like our ball screen coverage, how high up, which it wasn't perfect, but is better, but how much higher up Kalu was. Robbie's still probably a little too far back, but we took away space from them. We impacted the ball more with the bigs. We did a better job of, the best ball screen coverage is no ball screen coverage. So you want to cancel the ball screen. You do that you have to get into the ball and be super physical, attached to the offensive player, and you got to prepare to go over every screen. And then if you get the point of the screen, that's when you can, if you want to go underneath it, you can actually navigate and go under the ball screen, and it gives you no coverage. Or you can blow it up if they're below you, and it gives you no coverage. We've not been able to apply that until I thought much better job tonight of applying, canceling ball screens, the guy in drop being higher on the floor, giving the guard coming off less space. There was a couple breakdowns. We gave up a layup to 5 in the first half where Robbie and Swope miscommunicated. Swope said he was back. He wasn't. Robbie got out of the basket protection. They gave up a layup. But in general, our ball screen coverage was exponentially better. But it's those things. Our guards got to be more physical in the ball, which goes back to, I didn't think we were at all in the ball against. I thought Wichita State was very comfortable. If you play offense and the guy's 8 feet off you and you can just do whatever you want, like it's pretty easy to play offensively. When you're only hard to play against if there's ball pressure. If you feel like guys are under you and they're annoying you, and then there's crowds. When you do drive it, you're forcing guys to make decisions. So not only is it it's the individual point of attack, and then it's the collective being in those crowds and those gaps.
Are you fighting against kind of like a mindset where the player's thinking, this team doesn't shoot well, so I can give them space, but you're saying it's actually about taking away space even deep, even if they're not good three-point shooting? Is there something, do you have to fight players' mindsets?
Yeah, a little bit, because it's like some of that is like Otiani and what's his name, Brent Bennett. We weren't gonna pressure those guys because they're not particularly good. You just want to keep them in front. But the difference is you may guard a guy back a little bit if he's not a good shooter, but when you hear ball screen coverage come, you have to attach to the offensive players. You may be back, but that's where we're talking about, competing together. That's an example. We talk about every ball screen. So you're backed off. You don't think he's a good shooter. That's okay. You hear, coverage is coming right or left. You've got to then attach to the offensive player, direct them to where the screen's coming from. And then then if you want to get underneath, you can still get underneath. But if you're all the way off, you're just going to get hit, and you're going to get screened, and you're going to create a coverage. And then generally, the big has to switch on the guard, and then the guard is switching the big, and now you're in a rotation scramble, and then you're playing behind that. And that's what happened all night against Wichita State, was they were screening us, and the first one we were fine, we were whipping. Then the second rescreen, they were just getting downhill, and we were so far back that we weren't able to make any impact on the ball. And so we got to do a better job. But I thought tonight was, like I said, a step in the right direction where you can still guard a guy and give him enough space, but when a ball screen's coming, you're playing into that, you got to then take that space, and you got to be able to attach, and you got to be able to get low and locked, and then force him into the screen so you don't get rejected.
How's Kellen?
I hope okay. He was just cramping. I could see it second half. He got a rebound early. He was pushing, and he was hobbling, and I thought he was tired, which was only a minute in the second half. So I just asked him, I said, "Are you tired?" He's like, "No, I'm cramping," as he was dribbling. So I was like, "Oh." So, I haven't seen him since. He wasn't in the locker room, so I assume he's back in the training room getting fluids. And we've got to figure it out with him, because that's been an issue for him. And we got to get to the bottom of it and figure out a solution. I think it's a hard one, because generally guys that are I don't obviously know much about it, but guys that are super tight muscled. So I never got cramps. So that was one of the good things about not being super tight, quick twitch muscle guy. No cramping, but those guys can cramp, and you see Cooper Flagg has some of those issues. They have different guys that are quick twitch, guys that have no body fat. So Kellen's a guy we gotta try to figure out a solution. But yeah, he was gone the second half, and I want to make sure. I thought, like I said it, but our bench, Amari in particular, like what he did tonight, I thought was awesome. And Kobe gave us solid minutes, made, as arguably the biggest pass of the game there late, 70-62. They get in a scramble. There's 3 seconds on the clock. He gets top of the key, could have shot that, and he makes the one more to Swope in the wing for the wide open three. And so bench gave us really good minutes. I was proud of him. I was proud of Amari. I was proud of Kobe. And, and so, but hopefully KT will obviously be ready to go for UMass Lowell.
You've got three big guys, one injured, two who didn't play. I don't know what AJ's progress is here on the injury, but do you feel like you need to eventually be able to incorporate more of the size, or is that not necessarily a thing? Are you good?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we could if it gets the size, gets to where it deserves to play. I would say that. I'm not anti it. If Max or Killian or AJ show hey, I need to be out there, then of course my job is to play the guys, the most impactful players, whether that's 5 guards or 5 bigs or something in between. The system has to be malleable to play whoever deserves to play. I would say this, I think, Robbie and Kalu are a pretty good combination for 40 minutes there at the 5. I mean, I'm not saying you would go with, but you have to figure all right. And then if Kellen's going well, you have Kellen who can play with either one of those guys as kind of before Amari's big enough, to play. I think, our size is not great, but our cumulative size is pretty good. And Amari is pretty strong and physical, and he can guard really 4 positions. He can guard 1 through 4, and we think even though Swope's small, but he certainly he guarded switch a lot tonight. They were switching 4. He was guarding 1 through 4 for tonight. Even then they tried to post him a few times and he wasn't going anywhere. So I think if those guys earn it, whether that's Killian or AJ or Max, then certainly I'd find a way to get him in the rotation. Right now, that 5 and probably some combination of Amari, Larry, and Kobe are probably the 8 right now. They're going to have the lion's share of minutes, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be open to if somebody shows hey, but I don't think you necessarily, have to place, certain size. We played a lot last year with Bledson at the 5, who's, 6'5", and I think I told you, size only matters in basketball if the ball's at the rim. Size doesn't matter when the ball's at 30 feet. Size only relevant the closer the ball gets to the rim. If you can switch enough to keep the ball from getting in tight or trap the post and do things to disrupt them, they got to guard you on the other end. And Kalu's so physical, and he's such a good rebounder, and he's got a 7'2" wingspan. I mean, Kalu plays a much bigger than 6'8", 6'7", 6'8". To me, he plays at and he was fine guarding 33. He did a fantastic job.
Isaiah goes 40 minutes, but was there no reason to take him out the way he was going?
Yeah, I thought, to maybe give him a rest. I meant to in the first half. I forgot, so that's on me. No, I thought, with once Kellen kind of got in the rotation, it shortened a little bit. And first half, I truly did mean to take him out. I got Gibb a couple minutes, and I was I'll get Swope a couple minutes. And for whatever reason, I think that was when Larry maybe got hurt. And so I think that shortened it a little bit more because Larry was a couple minutes there, was shaken up for obvious reasons. He was fine towards the end of the half, but he spent a few minutes there back with the trainers and stuff. So, but yeah, no, he was really good tonight. I mean, 30 points and 6 assists, and I thought he was really good defensively as well. He was flying around, he was guarding. Our defense carried the day. Our defense on that carried the day, and we. I told them we missed a couple free throws, missed some wide open threes, missed some plays down the stretch that we could have sealed a lot earlier. But every time, I think we fouled 4 possessions in a row, game 8 free throws, and then from there we just kind of cut the water off and did a really nice job of closing that out. He was fantastic.
You see Kalu playing with a purpose there. His 18 rebounds, that he was after something.
Yeah, Kalu was fantastic. Kalu was, Swope's 30 is gonna get the headlines, but Kalu's 18 rebounds and his defense are, that was the biggest factor in winning. Swope's 30 is awesome, but the biggest reason we won was, Kalu's 18, Kalu's defense, his ability to guard all 5 positions. Kalu, when I left out of Kansas City, the 2 guys I thought really competed their brains out in that game were Kalu and Kellen, so Kalu is starting to kind of, become what he's capable of. It was good to see him out there with Robbie too, because we just haven't seen that much. They just haven't had much of a chance with all the injuries to play together. And I thought that looked pretty good as well. They did a nice job playing with each other and finding each other. And Kalu, I think, complements Robbie really well with the things he does. And obviously Robbie complements Kalu well with the things that he does. And that's ultimately what you hope for when you're putting a puzzle together, is the pieces fit well together. And it seemed like those two guys are going to fit well together.
With Josiah being out, this is Amari who's looks like going to have a real chance here.
Right? Yeah, he does. I mean, that's kind of the way injuries work. They stink, but they are. They operate. Adversity drives opportunity, and it's going to be opportunity for Amari, and he took advantage tonight. Man, he was. His numbers weren't. I don't even know what he had, 3 points or something, but his impact in the game was really significant. And his defense, he's 6'6", got a 7-foot wingspan. When he really sits down and guards and competes, like that defensively, he's a game changer. And that's what we need. I mean, that's our identity. Our formula to win is going to be the defensive end, how tough we are, how we compete, and then we got to, find a way offensively, just have good process, and we'll generate shots, and they'll go in or they won't. But his defense tonight, he changed the energy of the game when he went in the game, and for a freshman to do that, he's going to have, like I said, opportunity. And if he plays with that level of competitiveness, he'll be very, very impactful for us, because he's so talented. He's so gifted on both ends of the floor. He really is. He was about to make a great pass to Gibb before he dribbled off his foot. But he knew he was driving baseline. He was going to throw that thing. I don't know where it would have went, but he was going to try to zip that thing to the corner to Gibb for a three. He's seeing the game at a different level. He made a great toughness play on a wall-up late in the game to force a miss. He's doing a lot of things that impact winning, and that kid's going to be special.
I think AJ should be back soon. Is it a short term?
It's hard to tell. He's, it's an ankle. He sprained it on Wednesday, same day that Joe got hurt. So he's, whatever that is, 5 days in. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like imminent, like UMass Lowell imminent. I would say, maybe Jackson State, maybe San Francisco, ish, maybe even, Chicago State, but certainly not Wednesday. We're not close to that, but I would think, there's an outside chance that he could be ready for Jackson State, to be back in the, back healthy to go. But, is also that you got to kind of work back in. And now, when guys go out, other guys establish themselves too. So you see some of that, where, like I said, he's got to fight and come in and earn minutes, but and Kalu and Robbie aren't going to be giving those things up, so easy. He's got to come in and show that, hey, I can impact this. And he was, trending towards that, but you get hurt and you got to kind of work your way back in. He will, though. He's, he'll get back and hopefully be back here soon.
Now you play for the 314 Classic Championship.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
It's a career goal of mine. I put it up there. It's going to go on my resume. I'm going to talk to Chris about it. I think that championship, it could be big, could really drive heavy negotiations. So yeah, no, it's UMass Lowell's a really good team. I think Chris and I were talking about it before the game. Like, you play at Quinnipiac, and nobody knows who Quinnipiac is, but they won 24 games this year. They're picked to win their league. They're very likely an NCAA tournament team, and you're going to play UMass Lowell, will probably be the highest rated team to come to Chavis this year, top 125 in KenPom, picked to win their league. So, like, these games are, really, really challenging. They're good games. They're just not from a fan's perspective, because they don't know Quinnipiac and they don't know UMass Lowell. So you'd be better off to play, a bad ACC or a bad Big Ten, because they know the name brand recognition's there. But it'll be super challenging. They're a really good team, really well coached, got terrific players. I think they lost a game at Gonzaga, lost at Washington by 5. And they're 5-2, won at Merrimack tonight, beat Quinnipiac by 10. So we'll have our hands full on Wednesday night, so we got to get back to work tomorrow and be ready to go. But it'll be a great game. I hope we get a great crowd, because I think it'll be a lot of, I think they play fast. It'll be a lot of great pace. Should be a really good basketball game. So I hope our fans come out and support. It should be a really fun game to watch.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
We'll do it again on Wednesday.
You won't practice tomorrow.